Texas Governor Greg Abbott wants to prevent trans people from being able to become teachers. Now, Abbott recently told a gathering of conservatives over the weekend that in Lewisville, Texas, in the high school, recently just a month ago, they had a high school teacher, and this is his quote, who was a man who would go to school dressed as a woman in a dress, high heels, and makeup. Now, what do you think is going through the mind of the students that's in that classroom? Are they focusing on the subject this person is trying to teach? I don't know. What I do know are these two things. One, this person, a man, dressing as a woman in a public high school in the state of Texas, he is trying to normalize the concept that this type of behavior is okay. This type of behavior is not okay. And this is the type of behavior that we want to make sure we end in the state of Texas. So that's Abbott's quotes. First off, deeply transphobic, full of misgendering. Apologize for that. Just quoting him verbatim here. But let me answer the question here that he poses. What's going through the mind of the students? Probably their schoolwork. If the student is getting sidetracked by something, I mean, how is that the teacher's fault? Okay? If the student is getting sidetracked by, for example, you could apply this logic to a woman, right? Oh, you see, a woman in the school is maybe somewhat attractive. Oh, obviously, we're going to have to get rid of the woman, prevent her from becoming a teacher because she's just too attractive and she's, distracting the students. Well, that's ridiculous. You can't just get rid of somebody, prevent somebody from being a teacher for being too physically attractive. Okay, you can't get rid of somebody who is a trans person for simply being a trans person. That is ridiculous. Look, at the end of the day, most people are not obsessed with trans people. Okay? Not like Greg Abbott appears to be. Obsessed with trans people. Secondly, Abbott constantly misgendered this teacher and said that the behavior is not okay. Why? Who is this teacher harming by just being herself? No one. No one. But see, Abbott gives it away when he says, well, you're trying to normalize this concept, and that should not be normalized. Well, that right there is the problem. It shows you that Greg Abbott does not want trans people to exist in public at all. Now, of course, they'll start with the teachers, start with the public schools, and then go on to criminalizing people in public spaces that are trans or gender nonconforming. That's how it goes. Once you eliminate them from just being able to have a certain job, and again, their transness does not have any impact whatsoever on their ability to do a job, okay, to be a teacher, to be any sort of government worker, but then they expand it out to working just anywhere in the private sector, even. And so this is the problem. This is what they're going for, okay? The entire ball game here is to try to legislate trans people out of existence. That's it. All this BS, by the way, you hear from right wingers saying, well, we're not transphobic, we just care about the children, right? Care about the children. No, that's a cover. Using children as shields to crack down on behavior that adults don't approve of. And that's it. Other adults don't approve of. Now, within hours of this statement, of course, you had multiple GOP officials in Texas signing on with Abbott's call to ban trans and gender nonconforming teachers from being able to teach. Now, that's a bit of a problem because they are public school teachers, which means they're technically part of the government. And the government says you are not allowed to, fire people based on this, based on their gender identity or their sexual orientation. That said, you had Texas GOP Chair Matt Rinaldi and other Texas legislators and candidates such as Briscoe Cain and Brett Money all signing on to be like, yeah, so let's ban trans people from being teachers. But what they're doing is public discrimination. That's what they're supporting. That is illegal under federal law. Bostock versus Clayton County specifically states that Title VII protections around non-discrimination in the workplace apply to trans and gender non-conforming people. And that same court case is being used to overturn these anti-trans laws in Title IX cases in schools, as well as bathroom bans, sports bans, and more. It is literally unconstitutional to be able to discriminate and tell people, hey, you can't be a trans person. You can't be yourself. You're not allowed to be yourself. Well, why am I not allowed to be myself? Oh, because I don't like it. Well, it's a sad day for you, dude. Sad day for you. I don't like you being who you are. I don't like you being a bigot. Doesn't mean I could fire you for that. Doesn't mean I could discriminate you and keep you from doing a government job just because you held bigoted views. No, okay, so not only that, but these laws are also being blocked because they are a violation of free speech, right? In Florida, for example, state attorneys had argued that trans teachers in the classroom were a quote-unquote distraction to students, and that a trans woman teacher was just harming her students' education by literally existing, by being there. Once again, that argument could be used against anybody, a black teacher, Arab teacher, cis woman. I give you all those examples already. Anybody but a straight white Christian man would be a distraction to a child's education, according to these, according to these the bigoted people. No, sexual orientation and gender identity, at the end of the day, they shouldn't matter when it comes to a job. What matters is, can they do the job? That's it. And you would think that for a country that has a shortage of good teachers because of the issues like poor pay, large class sizes, and of course, massive amounts of school shootings that seem to happen, and hatred by conservative parents. Oh, you know what? That right there, I think I figured it out. This is the result that the right wing wants. Less teachers. Yes, less teachers, struggling schools, so they can funnel public money into private religious education, charter schools. Ultimately, this is what, by the way, this is part of what Abbott has been trying to do. Not just Abbott, but you also have people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas that are trying to funnel more public money into these private religious institutions, which are, again, religious institutions that are generally not interested in teaching factual information, factual concepts like theory of evolution, example, it's one example, another, climate change, and how that's being infected by humans. Things like that, they're not going to teach. They're going to leave these children at a massive disadvantage. But what they do create, though, ignorant children create obedient workers. And that's it. That's what they want. So now, that said, Republicans have been using, unsuccessfully, trans people as a wedge issue for some time. And most people, again, they either don't care about this issue, right? Or it really doesn't top any of their lists about what legislators should be focusing their time, effort, and energy on. Things like the economy, things like healthcare, that constantly top concerns. Trans people, not even a blip on people's concerns. People don't care. It's not an issue. It is not destroying education. Trans people existing is not destroying the moral fiber of this country. Trans people existing are simply trans people existing, and I believe that they have the right to exist. And most people do. Most people agree with that. And so running on this issue has caused Republicans massive election losses. In 2023, for example, candidates running on anti-trans sentiment experienced significant defeats nationwide, including the defeat of 70% of all Moms for Liberty candidates on the school boards. People are not interested in this. Now, the fact that Greg Abbott and Republicans in Texas are going all in on hating trans people, it tells me that it's not necessarily about politics. They're picking a political loser. That tells me that it's about hatred and bigotry. And that's all it is. They're not using this because it's popular, because it's going to win them elections. They're really using it because they do actually despise trans people and want them eliminated from society. And they are willing to use weaponized state power in order to do it. And if they are successful, think of the other groups that they'll target. Because They won't end with trans people.